Hello and welcome to DimzysDomain, and this is a Yu-Gi-Oh discussion regarding Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5. And today, joining me for his debut on the channel, make sure you check him out. He has well thought out, very good discussions on his channel. He covers everything Yu-Gi-Oh. What's his name? YuGiOhEverything. Dylan from YuGiOhEverything. Do you want to say hello to everyone?
Yes, thank you so much, Dimzy, for having me. Very excited to join DimzysDomain. Very excited to discuss Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5 and be on the channel. It really is an honor. And once again, thank you for having me.
Now, before we continue, I do want to quickly give a cheeky little shout out to Dylan because of the fact that I really enjoy his manga versus anime breakdowns for certain characters. So if you really like these discussions, these breakdowns for Yu-Gi-Oh, anything Yu-Gi-Oh, everything Yu-Gi-Oh, please check it out. Subscribe to him and check out his videos. Binge on the playlist. You won't regret it. But today we are going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, and if it was good, was it good? Maybe. Who knows? Let's talk about that. There's a very polarizing viewpoint regarding Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, and I feel like I'm on the very optimistic end because I really did enjoy the series, whereas other people absolutely despise it. People always tell me, oh, look at the Nico ratings and so and so. I don't care about no ratings. I enjoyed it. I just want to see if other people enjoyed it like me. I am among the thought process of I don't like to check out these statistics of this, that. I like to hear other people's opinions. So before anything, did you enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5?
I enjoyed it, and it was a good show. Now, I know that might seem like a shock coming from me based on how I gave, my ending thoughts on the reviews and the last cast lists and the last episodes and such. But I did review every Arc 5 episode after 99, or most of them. And I was critical on the ending, and I'm not changing my opinion on that. I thought the ending was really poor. I thought the conclusion, the final 13 episodes after the Yuya and Yuri duel, was extremely poor. But it was only 13 episodes, and the first 135, or at least the first 50, and even through the Synchro Arc to the first 100 episodes, they were good episodes. And I think it's I think it's understandable that a lot of people are bitter, and it left a sour taste in my mouth too. I'm not trying to say it didn't with Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, but to say the show is horrible and to condemn the show as a 2 out of 10 and some trash Yu-Gi-Oh show, I think is a little critical, because then you're just saying the entire first 50 episodes, the entire 80 or 90 episodes were the build up to, wanting more Yuri, to wanting to see Ruri and Rin, to wanting to see more interaction, some interaction that we never got, like Yuya and Yugo, or, Yugo and Yuri. Well, Yugo and Yuri, I guess we did get, but the duel was, one of the most, to me, it was the most disappointing thing of Arc 5. But to just say that the first 70 episodes were completely worthless, I think is very harsh to say just based on the last 13 episodes, which, trust me, you don't have to convince me. The last 13 episodes I thought were horrid. I thought they were, not all of them, but a lot of them, and just the whole story at the end was very poor. And I will say this too before I give it over to you, Dimzy, and I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. As you know, something I do on my channel, if you do know me, is I try to answer as many comments as I can, and I really am looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and I will be talking in the comment section of this video on Dimzy's channel, and I'm sure he will be doing the same. So please let us know your thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 as a whole, and rate it out of 10, because I'm actually curious to see what a lot of you would have to rate this show. Now, the Nico ratings, I made a whole video, and so this is just kind of to prove that I'm not some person who spews hate in Arc 5. I made a whole video, a whole 10-12 minute rant video a while back, probably when the show was in like the 120s, condemning the Nico rating system, because that site had just reached that site basically had a bunch of trolls that rated every episode, a 0.01 out of 10, a 0.1 out of 10, which, let's be honest, when you ask someone, oh, what do you give this episode? What do you give this game? A 1 out of 10? No one says, oh, I give it a 0.5 out of 10. If it's horrible, you give it a 2, but people were giving it 0.1s and 0.2s, and that's why the show had such a horrible rating on Nico. I don't listen to that site at all, and that's why when you hear Zexal did really well in Japan, 5Ds did really bad in Japan, they're just basing that off of the ratings of the Nico site, which I don't listen to at all. So I'm with you there, Dimzy. I don't listen to that site at all. I condemned it in a rant video a while back. But Arc 5 as a whole, to get back on topic, it was a good show. It was a good show. I think
they did really well in terms of selling this new protagonist, where I had a big problem with Zexal in terms of the protagonist, where one of the poor points for Zexal was the fact that why are the side characters, why are the supporting characters more interesting, more engaging to me instead of the protagonist? And that was a big weakness on Zexal's part, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm hoping Yuya isn't a idiot. He's not boring. He's not annoying as I experienced with Yuma. And he wasn't. And they really did build him up. Now, the first 50 episodes, as many would say, and you did mention this, people tout it as one of the highlights for Arc 5 in general. It was really good. And the usual thing I hear all the time is, oh, Arc 5 did really well, and then it just slumped at this point or that point. Or people say the synchro dimension was bad. No, it was really, really good. Because of the fact that, in my opinion, I thought it was like 5Ds with movie quality, or 5Ds remade from what I could see. And although I did question why weren't certain legacy characters introduced and why weren't they used in other ways, the duels, let's talk about the duels, because of the fact that I know not everyone not everyone plays the card game, and not everyone also watches the anime correspondingly, which is also a video that's gonna be coming up on Dylan's channel. So that's, keep your eyes peeled for that. I was thinking to myself, the quality of dueling has increased. It is really good. However, one of the points which made me not enjoy it as much, due to the fact that I really do enjoy playing the card game, I currently run a very competitive deck, 2 of them actually, and I'm hoping to win a few tournaments. But the point was, I was like, okay, with the action magic spell cards, it really does devalue the duels and the skill level for certain, duels itself. I know in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's many examples of them cheating or bending the rules through anime logic, but it was getting a bit too much regarding the action magic. Remember this, they used to use speed counters in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D, so you can't really say Arc 5 was the worst of the worst, because we have been introduced to it beforehand. I enjoyed the character building of every single character. Now, I know a lot of people don't like, and this was actually one of the negatives, was the treatment of Yuzu, but at the same time, I do want to say this, throughout the whole of Arc 5, they were teasing the fact that, okay, this character look alike. These are the bracelet girls, this girl, they look alike. What the hell's going on? So as the audience, we were trying to piece the puzzles together slowly and surely. We were getting to the final story, the full story. Okay, what happened? Why is this? Why is that? And I did enjoy the fact that, okay, they were all four pieces of a person, of this original person. And I think that was very smart, somewhat of a mature topic as well. And that's one of the reasons why I don't enjoy the ending of Arc V, purely because of the fact that it was really mature. There was a dark theme from the get-go, or not from the get-go, but from early on, the first quartile until the last bit after Zark, and then it just became very happy-go-lucky. It really did tone down, and it became very PG, and I was thinking to myself, okay, this really doesn't feel right. And that's kind of echoing the feelings that you said. The ending just didn't feel right. It just wasn't good enough. So I think I can say for both of us that we did like the build-up, we did like the first beginnings of Arc 5, these arcs, the filler arcs, the duels. Apart from the ending, what else did you find a negative point? What could you classify as a negative point?
I felt that the ending is probably the biggest negative point for me. I actually did a video, not to plug myself, Yu-Gi-Oh! Top 10 arc.
Plug away. Tell us the titles. We'll link it down below.
All right, yeah, please check it out, guys. Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 Top 10 Disappointments, where I list my 10 biggest disappointments, but some quick things that I found to be very annoying. You already touched on it. The action cards. Jesus Christ, by the end of the show, those were the most irritating things that one of the most irritating things, I don't want to say the most, that I have ever watched in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And yes, we did have it with the speed duels in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, I still preferred the standing duels over the speed duels, which is why, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I love the newer Yu-Gi-Ohs, but I like when two people are standing next to each other, not moving, not riding on anything, which is why I'm a little nervous about the Vrains duels, because I'm hoping there's no gimmick like there was with action cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, which is the new Yu-Gi-Oh!
There
that's
is,
coming out.
I think they're going to do speed duels.
They are going to do speed duels, but I hope there's no, I guess if they do speed counters like they did in 5Ds, it'll be very similar. So, they're going to do speed duels, and speed duels are the duels that have the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links format, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. But again, if there's no random cards you can grab like Miracle or Evade, I'm not going to have a problem with that like I did with this. Every time that an opponent used an action magic, it was to cancel out Yuya's action magic. What's the point of even having an action magic used if you're just going to cancel it out? And every time that Yuya was in a hole and he had no cards on his field, he's just going to run over, grab Evade. There was one turn, I think it was in the final duel against Akaba Reiji, where he grabbed Evade and Miracle 3 different times. in one turn. And it's like, it's just ridiculous, and you already touched on it. The other thing that was very disappointing for me, the treatment of the females, especially Rey. Rey was built up to be this great duelist, someone that took down Zark in the previous world, and it seemed like we were going to definitely see her duel, and she never even shows up in the flesh. Rin duels once, Rory never duels not brainwashed, Rin never dueled not brainwashed, Serena and Yuzu never dueled not brainwashed after like episode 80, the last 63 episodes, the last year of Arc 5, they did nothing. The female treatment, I know a lot of people, including myself, kind of rip Yoshida, who wrote Zexal and is going to write Vrains as well, or co-write it, because he kind of writes females poorly. But I'll tell you, the females were written horribly in this show after the Synchro arc. So those were two or a few disappointments that I had.
I think it was just purely they got overwhelmed with the size of the cast, because they accumulate and they just increase the cast slowly and slowly. And you saw this during the final duel with, well, not the final duel, the final boss battle with the big evil boss battle, because he did have a duel with Akaba Reggie, but with Zark, where we actually saw the scope of all the people that are kind of interactive and they're kind of important as cast members in Arc 5. So it was, I think they kind of got overwhelmed with it. So I kind of want, especially with the Vrains moving forward, I want them to kind of cut down the cast. But regarding Arc 5, I think it was still a very, very good anime, and it's one of them ones where, honestly, if a person who has not watched 5Ds or the other anime, and let's say they're somewhat intact with the card game, or even if they're not intact with the card game at all, they would really enjoy it, because they explained all the other mechanics and the way they kind of gave importance, fusion dimension, etc. So I really did enjoy that.
One thing I actually want to add, Dimsy, before we wrap this up, I know you're about to wrap it up, is one positive thing for Arc 5, and that is, you kind of just touched on it, they had all the summoning methods. Sure, they didn't really show rituals much, but they did something that I hope revolutionized Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is incorporating all of these summoning methods. That is my number one want for Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. If Vrains goes back to, if Vrains has no synchros, no XZs, and no pendulums, and just has your basic fusion, your advanced summoning, and now your link summoning, that will be very disappointing. And that's something that I think Arc 5 did magnificently, where they had all the summoning methods, and as you said, they kind of, incorporated all the methods and showed the people who play the card game and the people who don't play the card game how all these mechanisms work. And I think we do have to give Arc 5 praise for that. And hopefully, down the road when we're at like Yu-Gi-Oh 9 or Yu-Gi-Oh 10, if that's ever a thing, we look back and say Arc 5 revolutionized the Yu-Gi-Oh anime in terms of showing all the methods. So that is something that I do want to give praise for to Arc 5.
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree. We have to know this, that Arc 5, yes, it put the spotlight on each of the summoning techniques, to go as far as to give the allocated summoning techniques its own dimension. And honestly, and this is just my personal feeling, that after watching Arc 5, I'm sure the producers, the showrunners or whatever, they thought to themselves, okay, look at the level of intrigue and interest from the fans to these nostalgic little points that we've put in, these Easter eggs for, I don't know, fusion summoning, etc. They were convinced from Arc 5 that Dark Side of Dimensions will work. They knew that nostalgia is going to work, and that's what they did. They tried to incorporate nostalgia and they tried to weave it into the storyline, and I don't care what anyone says about the storyline. It was a phenomenal storyline for what it was trying to achieve. Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 was the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Series to have an overarching plot which ran through all of the seasons. It wasn't its own enclosed story per season as every single other iteration of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has done. They were brave enough to have a long-running plot with side stories which were stemming out, and they were splaying out and connect together to, once again, join to form the final and main story. So it was an approach which you see in TV series such as Walking Dead, etc. So now many of you can just say, hey, what about Doom Monsters? They had an overarching plot. Even Zexo had an overarching plot with Astro trying to find his memories. But my point was this: all of the other seasons for those series, you could have stopped at any one of the seasons and ended the show, and people would have been satisfied because they've told enough story to kind of satisfy you. Whereas Arc 5, you had to see the end game, and there was definitely this direction. They're going toward this end game as they're traveling one by one and having side adventures and side quests. So that's just my little justification of what I meant by having an overarching plot, which kind of worked. It really did work. It's just the execution. This was a very brave move. It didn't really work out as they kind of collapsed and the knees fell apart at the end, but even still, it was a very brave move, and I think that that's going to be a little thing we're going to see in future series, and that's going to be YuGiOh Rain. So let's see how that works out. But guys, I want to definitely urge you to check out YuGiOh Everything. If you want to know anything about YuGiOh, check him out. He will not disappoint, so make sure to check him out. So with that being said, make sure to like, share and subscribe your dual disc. You may now exit DimzysDomain. Thank you and goodbye.